If a young person is watching जो शायद graduate हो चुका हो, शायद कोई ऐसी नौकरी में हो, but if he or she is unable to find the why of his or her life, like what's the framework would you recommend? And especially in this context, जब economy भी नहीं है, बिजली भी नहीं है, WhatsApp भी नहीं खुल रही है अगर आप रोड के ऊपर हैं.
Yeah, my framework, as you've seen clearly in this, it's a very odd one where I leave everything and I go to Makkah and Medina. But I think the frame, it's very important to find what you really like.
But how to find that?
I don't have the answer for that. And I'll tell you what I did. I'll tell you what my experience was, because I don't know I cannot advise someone, but I can at least share my experience. My experience, to be honest, was dua. I know it's not a very, do these 5 things, but it was genuinely that. I was doing investment banking and I hated it. I did not enjoy it, but it paid well, so I continued doing it. But I was like, Allah, I want to find me something that gives me fulfillment, that makes me happy. And it was just dua. I don't have this 1 to 5 steps, but it's that asking God with this authenticity. That's my framework.
When you go, what's
I'll tell you, it's
normally
very simple.
Traditionally though, aap gaye, tawaf kiya, umrah kiya, Medina gaye, aage.
Sorry, what is the framework for my decision to go? Yeah, it's very simple actually. It's that, so when I was sort of in 2013, 2012, when I went again, I think in 2015, 2016, I don't remember, but then 2018, I remember talking to my mother and my wife, and I asked them, "Yaar, should I go on?" My mom said, "Yaar, agar job dhoondni hai, to you should stay here and look for a job." I asked my dad, and he said, "Jo risk deta hai, uske paas jaoge ya yahan risk dhoondoge?" And that actually has been the framework for it. Is that for me, it's this: I cannot control every single element, and I will not be able to have every single solution. So for me, it was this element that, yeah, I'll find a solution there. And so this framework is what I follow, is that, yeah, am I going to the one who's going to solve my problem, or am I going to be the one that solves the problem? If I was to solve the problem, I would have already solved it. So clearly I need some sort of help in solving this problem. So this framework makes it very easy, because in almost all of those instances, you can say, yaar, mujhe jana chahiye. And I still to this day, I think, go through this where I'm like, I just want to leave everything and just sort of just go. And I always have phenomenal experiences there with just humans and just lots of lessons I learn in my life by being there. It's I'll share one specific one, because it always strikes me when I reflect. So I went to Medina, and just so happened a few friends were there. So they said, yeah, we'll go to Medina together. और फिर वो निकल रहे थे, तो फिर मैंने कहा, मेरा दिल में भी है कि मुझे भी मदीना में रहना, आप लोग जाओ, I'll figure it out. They said, there's no hotel, it's the middle of Ramzan, what are you going to do? So I said, look, I'll call someone, I'll figure something out. So I called one guy I knew in Medina, and he lives in a small house. And उसमें 2 bedroom है, I think. और उसमें से जब मैंने उसे फ़ोन किया, उसने कहा, ऐसे में आप एक काम करें, आप मेरे घर पे आके रुक जाएं. हमारा जो एक कमरा है, वो हम रमज़ान में सिर्फ मेहमानों के लिए रखते हैं.
ये पाकिस्तानी है,
मगर मदीना में रहते हैं. So I was sleeping I was sleeping on the floor, and I woke up, and there was maybe within a foot, there was a dead cockroach. And fast forward to later in the day, I messaged one of my friends from Canada, and I just messaged him. I said, yeah, I just thought of you. Hope you're doing well. I'm in Medina. And he responded, he said, oh, I'm on my way to Medina. Let's meet up when I get there. So I said, sure. And when he asked me, when are you going to Makkah? I said, I don't know, maybe in the next day or so. He said, listen, I'm going tomorrow. Why don't you come with me? I said, sure, I'll come. So he said, where are you staying? I said, I have a friend. I'm going to figure it out when I get there. And his brother, mashallah, is one of the top Muslim lawyers in Canada. So he got invited, I think, was either by one of the princes in Saudi to stay in their villa, which is technically within the premises of the haram. So he said, why don't you stay with us? And so within 24 hours, I went from sleeping with like a cockroach mere samne to sleeping in like one of the royal family's villas. And all that, the lesson for me was I didn't do significantly much. So a lot of things I think is just you should make your best effort. You should work your butt off. But there's a lot that's in Allah's control. And I think for me, that realization, that reflection has been very important.